You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the September 14th meeting of the Michigan City Board of Cemetery Trustees. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Michigan City Board of Cemetery Trustees to order this 14th day of September 2023. Roxanne, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Virginia Keating.
Yes.
Davis Bush. Bernadette Emke. Here. Renee Bauer.
Here.
Carolyn Miller. Here. Stephen Janis. Mary Ann Milzarek.
Here. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the August 10th, 2003 meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item are the financial reports, and we begin as we always do with Horizon Bank, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me point out that the materials that I disseminated to all of you this afternoon, you might notice that there's a bit of a difference, less volume in terms of documentation provided as a result of some changes that we're making with respect to our reporting. The short of it is that you are receiving the same information as has traditionally been presented to you. The only change is that, this form of documentation, it's just in a different format. So to begin, the summary with reference to the permanent maintenance Greenwood account. That material will show you that the account is down 0.3% for the month, but is up 1.1% year to date. With regard to the permanent maintenance Swan Lake account, the account was down 0.2% for the month, but is up 1.5% year to date. With respect to the extension fund account, the account was down 0.1% for the month, but is up 1.6% year to date. Finally, with relation to the merchandise and commissions fund account, the account was up 0.3% for the month and is up 2.7% year to date. With regard to the details of the individual accounts, beginning again with the permanent maintenance Greenwood account, the money market is currently yielding 5.23%, which is up from last month's yield of 5.13%. The mutual fund's overall yield is at 3.05%, which is up from last month's yield of 2.90%. The overall yield in the account is at 3.37%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.26%. Moving to the permanent maintenance Swan Lake account, the mutual fund's overall yield is at 3.15%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.00%. The overall yield in the account is at 4.01%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.60%. Now, focusing on the extension fund, the mutual fund's overall yield is at 3.19%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.03%. The overall yield in the account is at 3.69%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.58%. Finally, with respect to the merchandise fund account, the mutual fund's overall yield is at 3.17%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.00%, and the overall yield in the account is at 4.84%, which is up from last month's yield of 4.70%. And now I'll turn the reporting duties over to Brad for him to address market activity.
Thank you, Aaron. So we had the CPI and the PPI numbers this week, which is the Consumer Price Index and the Producer Price Index, which are really how the government measures inflation. How is inflation going? Is it coming down? Is it staying steady? Is it going up? Those numbers were both up year over year and month over month, but they are continuing to slow down. So we're seeing inflation slowing. We're seeing the Fed's interest rate increases making a difference. Inflation is not quite where the Fed wants it as of yet, so there's still some work to be done, but it's heading in the right direction. One area where it wasn't heading in the right direction this month was gasoline prices. Those were up about 10% on the PPI from month to month. So there are some pockets, where there's still some inflation issues heading in the wrong direction, but for the most part, things are going the right way for the Fed. The Fed does meet next week, the 20th of September. The market is basically expecting virtually no chance of another rate hike next week. So we're expecting kind of a pause there. And then the next meeting is going to be the first week of November. And there's about a 40% chance right now in the market's pricing of a rate hike in November, depending on the data that comes in. But if that happens, that's expected to be the last rate hike. Expect to probably top out there. But as we've seen, unexpected things can happen. So I can't guarantee you that, but we'll see how everything plays out over the next couple of months here. So yeah, that's kind of a summary of where we're at right now. And, I want to introduce John here to the group as well. If there's no questions, I can take a few if there's any questions on the market.
Well, I'd like to welcome John Richards, President of the Investment Division. Is that correct?
Yep.
Right. John,
Thank you.
welcome and tell us what you want of us today.
Well, I don't want anything from you. Just wanted to say thank you very much for your business. Get a chance to meet you folks as well. You got the real firepower here with these two guys, really doing the job day in and day out for your relationship. So, but I just want to say hi. And there was one thing that we've been talking about regarding your relationship, and it's how we manage your assets. And we manage your assets on a non-discretionary basis. I think Brad and Aaron talked about this before. And it's not typically how we manage things in private wealth for clients. It's an option, certainly, but it puts a lot of onus on the client when you have to make decisions in accordance with us. We have a fiduciary obligation for the majority of our clients to make these decisions on their behalf. And that's part of the fee that you pay us, is to make those decisions for you. So it's certainly your choice, and you can remain this way forever. We'll love to keep you as a client in this regard, but I think we can do a better job for you on what we call a discretionary basis, where you give us guidelines and you say, you can only take this much risk, and meaning it's all treasuries or government bonds, whatever the parameters you set for us, and we know what you guys want in each of these accounts, and we manage to that. And obviously, we report on a monthly basis to you, so you would see if there were changes or not. But as maturities come due, it gives us the ability to be a little more agile. There won't be delays in terms of maturity. When we see something good, we can just buy it right away. So you gain more interest that way as well. One of the things I think that has come up in previous meetings is there's an increased fee for this. It's 3 basis points, and we'll show you the differential in this to be a fully discretionary managed account. And we talked a lot about this, and it's always not a shock to the system, but whenever a firm pitches something and there's an increased fee, you wonder what the real rub is. And we could do this for 6 months for you without an increased fee and continue on with your assets the way they are. And we'll manage on a discretionary basis for you. We'll come back 6 months later and go, is that easier for you? Was there less liability on your part making these decisions? You put the onus on us and the liability on us. We find it easier to manage your relationship this way. That's why we're urging you to do it. It's what we do for a living too. So just something to think about. You certainly aren't going to make a decision today, but something to talk about on whether or not you'd like to try that for 6 months, see what happens. And again, Brad's going to show you the cost differential. I think it's pretty minimal in terms of what we're taking on for you as opposed to what you're doing today. Any thoughts or concerns?
Let me explain something to you.
Sure.
We thank you for this presentation. However, the board has already concluded and voted on the fact that we want to remain the same.
Okay.
We're a creature of statute and law, ordinance. And we have to follow that ordinance, and we cannot abrogate our responsibility. For that reason, we're bound to continue as we are. So I just wanted to let you know that.
I'm sorry, bored you guys with my little speech. Anyway, well, thanks. We just felt it really important to at least address this.
Well, thank you very much for doing that.
Oh, no
Yes, I
problem.
appreciate that.
Sure, but thank you. If something does change down the line where you can turn it over to someone that would manage it exactly how you're required to as far as statutes and things, I do have a really good analysis of the difference and some examples of how it could benefit you most likely simply by us changing some of the investments around and reducing fees on the internal side too.
Okay,
So
all right.
just
Why don't you give us a copy of
Sure.
that? And we can perhaps talk to some people.
sure.
I doubt if there's going to be any change. This ordinance, I think, was passed in, 1973 or something like that? It hasn't been changed since then.
Okay.
So,
And just,
No
just to give a quick explanation, the top section of this sheet shows the difference in the fees, in dollar amount sense. And I also included the mutual funds that you currently hold in account and their internal expenses. So that, you pay you don't see this when you pay behind the scenes to the fund companies that are managing investments. So you can kind of see what those fees are, and those are the fees that we could drastically reduce by changing those investments around. They would perform most likely very similar to those investments, but the expenses internally would be. So just a explanation of what's on there.
John, I hope you don't mind me using your first name.
Not at all.
But I want to tell you something, that you have provided wonderful assistance to us over the years. Everybody has been remarkable that have come to us and gone through things with us. Of course, Brad's been here the longest, but Aaron is also doing well. So thank you very much.
Well, great. Well, thank you for that.
Quality employees.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on then, we need a vote on the financials. I'm going to give you the internal financials after we vote on the ones that we received from Horizon. So do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, then motion carries. Okay, moving on to the profit and loss for the month. It's not, thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
It's not incredibly poor this month. The receipts for Greenwood were $14,803.25. The disbursements were $23,574.34. So Greenwood's loss was $8,771.09. Swan Lake is showing receipts of $20,286.19. Disbursements of $18,834.56. And that is a gain of $1,451.63, and the total loss for the month is $7,319.46, all attributable to Greenwood Cemetery. Let me see, where am I at here? Okay, we need to have a motion to approve those financials as well. So I have a motion to approve the internal financials.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We've got the superintendent's reading of the bills next.
All points, fire and protection, Greenwood Cemetery, Swan Lake Memorial Gardens, $187.50. Postage, $132 even. Grants, Feed Emporium for Feed for the Birds, swans, and assorted other birds, $88.20. Co-Alliance, it's a co-op for gas and diesel, $2,854.64. Coastal Water Valley, that's the rental for the cooler in the garage, $88. DC Garage Doors, repair on the mausoleum door at Swan Lake, $1,676. Water and sewage at Greenwood, $246.42. DeVries Tires, It's for 2 tires for one of the lawnmowers, $229.88. Cableland's Ace miscellaneous items and tools, $716.20. Matthews International for lettering, bronze, $2,999.16. Michigan City Animal Hospital for the Swans physical, $346. NIPSCO, $567.30. Republic Dumpster for the monthly dump, $141.74. And New Way Security, $172 even. Permanent maintenance receipts, $1,051.25, and it's all Swan Lake. Extension fund receipts, $2,326.25. Merchandise receipts, $6,256.60 for a total of $9,634.10. And those are the reading of the bills, Madam President.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Motion to pay the bills.
I second it. I'll call for the roll. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next is the superintendent's report, and then I will be introducing Mr. Daniel McCoy after that, and he's going to talk to us about an OSHA compliance inventory. Correct. Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. We were very unbusy doing odds and ends for the month, so this is just kind of a hodgepodge here a little bit. The water will be shut off at Greenwood on Friday, September 29th, 2023, and water will be turned on again Monday, May 6th of 2024. This is Greenwood only, and this is something that we do on a yearly basis. We turn it off the end of September, and we turn it on the first week in May every year. I'm bringing this up now because I do have a request at the end of my talk here. The fall cleanup at Greenwood Cemetery will be Monday, October 15th, and last 1 week until Friday, October 20th, 2023. Everything summery and seasonal will be removed and taken care of and destroyed, getting rid of, cleaning up cemetery for the winter months. On the cable and bill, you notice it was over $700. That's because we did go out. They had got our second set of tools. So both cemeteries now each have 2 sets, 1 set each of tools. Nice sets at each cemetery. That's why it was so much. So the tools are there now. We also had a gentleman, that's what that one bill was for Safeway, I think it was, New Way Security. They came in, I called them and talked to the gentleman at the company, and the safe and the vault have been repaired and the combinations have been changed, and that's locked at night. And section signs at Greenwood have been installed, the ones that we had ordered in the spring. We ended up using 1-inch rigid electric pipe. It's as heavy as the water line, and it wasn't about $12 cheaper per pipe. They were all painted green, and I don't know if anybody has gone out there and seen them yet, but they stick out like a sore thumb. They're really nice looking. Okay, and also getting back to the one about the fall cleanup, I would like to ask if it's possible for the board to change our October meeting to October 19th, 1 week later. Mrs. Rolfe will be on vacation starting on that Thursday, and she'll be gone for a week and a half. And we just won't have time to get the bills and everything done in that time.
Okay, well, why don't we just have a motion on that? I see no problem myself. Is this a problem for anyone?
No.
Okay, then, let's have a motion to move the meeting to October 19th.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, then, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Dan, I'd like you to explain something of your background to us.
Excuse me. I got one more thing.
Oh.
If it's okay.
You are slow.
I'm reading as quick as I can, I'm hurrying. That is just,
You're hurrying faster.
when you got a dinner date? Oh, anyways.
Well, I got to sign more documents next door here.
That is the employee package. Anybody, when I've got a couple extra copies, all it consists of is what a board approved back in the spring. For some reason, I was very late in getting it this year. The first one is the pay raise at 2% that the mayor offered. The employees did not come forward for any kind of wage or benefit increase. Number two, the board approved the Columbus Day as an extra holiday starting this year. And number three is with an addendum to the seasonal that the board was going to, at their March meeting, approved 3 seasonal holidays, Memorial Day, July 4th, and Labor Day. But they will follow the same policy as the full-time employees as to receive them.
Okay.
Only if it's a rain day after the holiday and it's not their fault, I'm still gonna pay them. But if it's their fault and they take off, then we won't pay them. So,
Okay.
that's it, that's what this is. Anybody want, that's what, and I put that, and I have a book, I started back in 1988. At both places with all the benefits and everything we've had that been given, and I just did not get this to it right now, I apologize.
It's no problem. Basically, we've already approved 2 of these items, and we have no control over the 2% mandated by the mayor, so I consider this for informational purposes only. So if anyone, I've signed it, if anybody wants to have a look at it, we can pass it around.
Thank you. Oh, you got copies over there.
Anybody want to look around? Anybody?
Yeah.
I'm done now.
All right, well, thank you, Mark. Dan, please, tell us about yourself.
I'm Dan McCoy. I'm a certified safety professional, certified hazardous materials manager. And I've worked with the sanitary district here in Michigan City for, I think since 2015. They're one of my clients. I'm a consultant. And basically my background starts with a little bit of service in the United States Navy on an aircraft carrier. That's where I developed an interest in safety. And after that, a degree in chemistry, and then a master's degree in safety management. And then work experiences with Union Carbide, Amoco, BP, and along with the Navy service and working with those companies, and along with my practice, I've had the privilege of being in 30 countries, 45 states, practicing what I love to do. That's health, safety, environment, security improvements. And so that in a nutshell is basically what I have here on the CV.
Thank you. Now, we talked, and I'd like you to share what you told me regarding performing an audit. And the reason that we're doing this is that the issue was raised, okay? And that we needed to make sure that we were OSHA compliant, okay? We are very fortunate to find Dan, who has so much experience and could be very helpful to us. This perhaps will be the first time we do this, but I think that it would probably behoove us to do it on an annual basis. That's up to the board. But Dan, why don't you tell us what you intend to do and costs and so forth and so on?
Certainly. I've worked closely with Mark, is it?
Yes.
Okay. I've worked very closely with Mark, and what we would do is we will go out and take a look at the assets we have, and also that includes interviews with employees. And so a field survey of the equipment that's used, and with that, then we can determine what sort of exposures we have, potential hazards we have, and then also compliance issues. Sometimes a compliance issue may be just that, a compliance issue, but may not represent a significant hazard to the employees. However, we must be in compliance, but there may be other items that we identify that, working with Mark and all, that we need to approach first. And so that we have to have an organized way in which we do that. And so that's what the hazard assessment's all about. And the hazard assessment is to take a look at the hazards, also the areas of potential non-compliance, and then look at what severity that might be. And then from that, when you have those two components, that leads to consequences, injury, illness, those kinds of things. That's kind of the definition of risk. And so what we want to do is we want to minimize the risk to employees. That's what our fundamental goal is all about. Compliance is a foundation, and then we build on that foundation of reducing risk. And we do that with employee involvement. We do that with routine inspections, do that with procedures and other areas of compliance. So it really means that as I perform this task, that I'll work with Mark closely to look at some areas that may be of concern that he's identified, along with the assistant superintendent and also some employees. And we'll get those out on the table, take a look at those, risk rank them, and then approach it from there. Typically, the rate that I charge is for the sanitary district is $150 an hour, and so that's the rate that that I normally charge. And in that, since I live in Chesterton, I don't charge for mileage. I don't charge for usual expenses. I don't plan on staying at Blue Chip, so you won't see anything like that. So the 150 is all inclusive. It includes any travel or anything like that. And so I really don't have any idea other than what I've read on the website about the assets. And so at no charge, I'd like to spend a little bit of time with Mark to define, is this a big box? Is this a small box? And then come back with an idea of what it might cost to provide some information that you can use year in and year out. So we'll take a look at some of the injury statistics, some of the injuries that have occurred over the years. And you've been with the cemetery department for many, many years, so you probably have a good bit of information related to that. So that's one thing we'll build on.
Okay.
So
Now, initially, will you provide us with a report before we go
certainly.
ahead? Okay.
Certainly,
all right.
yes.
Would you have it available for our next meeting on October 19th? Or is that
I don't
too
see
soon?
why not.
Okay,
Sure.
all right. You can submit it to Mark, and Mark can have us put it on the agenda. You can appear yourself if you have the time. We'd certainly welcome talking to you again.
Well, it'd be my pleasure to sit here at the table
Okay,
and answer any questions you may have regarding the report.
okay.
Would a piece of equipment that was purchased under OSHA regulations, let's say 15 years ago, would there be changes on that?
I really don't know what kind of equipment or.
Well, it's a lift it's what's known as a crypt lift,
Uh-huh.
and it would lift up a casket to go in a mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
And when we bought it, it was with all the OSHA regulations because they wouldn't sell it without it. So it's been at least 15 years, 15 years or longer. Would that still be in effect, or do you think? Because I called the company a few weeks ago, and they didn't seem to think there would be any changes.
Wouldn't it be grandfathered in?
It's based on ANSI standards and ASME standards, and OSHA really doesn't cover that. They simply address it if someone gets hurt. And so, your vendor is probably spot on. What we want to do is just make sure that the equipment is being operated and maintained according to what's in the operator's manual. And so if we do that, we should be in good shape.
And do you have a brother named Hub?
No, I sure don't.
Okay, never mind that.
Brother is Dennis, and he lives in West Virginia.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I just wonder, how did this come about? Who initiated this?
Well, Miss
I
Keating,
initiated the
initiated
contact
it.
because
Yes.
Dan was recommended to me. The reason is one of our councilmen brought this up. Okay? And I'm assuming that the councilman brought this up because an employee brought it up with him. So basically, that's what I think happened. I have no personal knowledge other than that the councilman brought it up.
I worked at a place called Arnold Adhesive Tape years ago. And the last couple of years, I was safety director there. And
Outstanding.
OSHA didn't come in unless there's an employee. Like
Well, we're
Virginia
being
said, employee
proactive.
initiated.
Yeah, we're being proactive here.
Yeah, it's best to be this way, to be proactive and not wait for the complaint.
And does this tie in with anything that our insurance requires, or is that two separate, totally different?
Indirectly, and how that ties in indirectly is that if we improve our programs and if our injury experience is minimal, that will help, on our workers' compensation insurance cost. So indirectly, it does help. I know that I'm not sure who the insurance carrier is with your department. But if we can provide information that we have a safety program and it's ongoing and things like that, they can then present that to the underwriters, and then it may help us on a rate.
That's right.
So it helps indirectly. And another important thing, we want to make sure that we keep the workers' compensation cost down as low as we possibly can. But it all centers around preventing injury. And, the old saying that we want individuals to go home as they came to work. And that's what it's all based on, what it's built on. And so...
And in addition, of course, there's workers' compensation claims that could be avoided if we do this. So, all in all, I think the benefits far outweigh anything else. So I need a motion to proceed, give Dan permission.
I'll make a question.
Oh,
Sure.
Would you keep us appraised of everything that's coming up in the future or new changes in the rules?
Certainly.
Absolutely. That's a good thing.
I could
We-
factor that in.
Good point. Good point.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll make a
Factor
motion
that
to
in.
go forward.
Okay.
A second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Dan, very much for coming.
Thank you.
Look forward to
I look forward to working with you all. Mark, I'll give you my card and please contact me as soon as you can.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy the great weather.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, we move on to old business. I had put on here the safe and valve locks. You've already taken care of that, so we don't have to worry about that. Have we told or put on notice the employees, to the employees that they are prohibited from bringing their own tools in?
Well, now that we get the other tools, I'll bring it up to them.
Well, yeah, I think we need to have meetings so that we don't have them deciding that they like their tools to work with, whether or not they're told not to, Anyways, moving on again, keys to the mausoleum. Do we have keys yet?
Yep, it's all been changed, keys out, we're gonna put a sign in the door asking anybody that wants a key, who are crypt owners, to come to the office.
Perfect, okay. Do we need to send any letters out, do you think?
Roxanne and I were talking about that the other day. It would be hard to find everybody that's in there now. plus expense-wise. We put a sign on the door. We put a sign saying if you're a crypt owner, indoor crypt owner, you can stop by the office, hours, and get your key.
Okay.
One key will be issued per crypt.
Okay. Would it be worth our while putting a notice in the newspaper, do you think?
I don't think so.
So, no? Okay. All right, we'll cover that one. You've gotten a copy of the ordinance, have you not? Okay, take a look at it. If anybody has any questions and wants to meet before the next meeting, I'll be glad to do that. I think it's pretty straightforward, and you're all very intelligent people. I don't think you're gonna need my help, but we might want to discuss a point between us, so let me know, or let Roxanne know, okay?
I have a question, Madam President. Was there a specific reason why this change was made in 76 or 77? Had there been
The
problems?
change was made because they were calling us something different. They changed the name of this board to the Board of Cemetery Trustees,
From Regents.
yes.
We used to be Regents.
And that's the only
That's
reason?
it. That's
There
the
was
only
no
change. Nothing.
issue, conflict or anything
No,
like that? Okay.
everything is the same.
Okay.
And what happens with these ordinances, there's a state law. That's how it starts. And then the ordinance is a result of that state law. So they're running parallel to each other, or consistent with each other. So,
And if the state makes a change somewhere?
they're supposed to pick it up, the
Does it-
legal department here is supposed to pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't.
We don't know.
Okay.
Thank God we don't. Okay, let me see. Roxanne, I want to talk to everybody about this. I think we received a copy of this, and I don't recall for sure. We discussed internal controls, policies, and procedures, okay? The auditor's office has determined that they want us to add certain procedures, okay? One of them is a program, is called the Cemetery Program Gift and Donation Funds, okay? That is in the ordinance, as you'll see when you read it. So I don't think that there's any rhyme or reason why we would want to do that. Instead, I would prepare something, and I would say that the ordinance controls in its entirety and incorporated by reference in their manual, okay? Simple, we don't have to rewrite, we don't have to, rediscover the wheel or anything like that. The next one is, they want us to, and I'm going to read it to you because it's easier to do it that way. They say, general, all monies, cash, check, credit card received must be recorded in the financial system. We already do that.
Yes.
Okay. The responsibility of collecting money and issuing receipts is segregated from that for preparing bank deposits.
Yes.
Okay, all right. At the end of each business day, the safe in which any and all money is stored is locked for safekeeping, and no unauthorized individual has access to the safe. Each department has their own safety mechanisms for securing city funds, that is locked bags or vaults. Okay, that is already done. Okay, so these are all redundant. All expenditures must be recorded in the financial system, already done, right? All expenditures must be include an itemized invoice or a receipt. We already do that. The invoice must show the name of the business, date of the purchase, and items purchased. The invoice must be uploaded to the accounts payable ledger.
Yes.
So we don't even need that. I'll craft some language that says that this is just exactly what we do already, okay? I'll just say something like, we will reaffirm that this is has been and will continue to be our policy, okay? And then, of course, business rules, cash receipts will be saved to the revenue collection ledger once the receipt is printed.
Yes.
Okay? Once receipts are posted in the controller's office, the data is then sent to the general ledger.
Yes.
Okay. Each customer must receive a receipt noting the payment method, cash, check, credit, purpose of the payment. We already do all these things. Invoice will be paid through batches created in the accounts payable subledger on a schedule lined up with the regularly scheduled board meetings. Okay, so like I say, I'm just gonna make it sweet and short for them. I don't know why they would want to restate what has already been there, but we will accommodate the request. Is that all right with everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Now, I gotta talk to you about something that I'm very unhappy about, and I don't know if I should even bring it up. I watched the budget hearings, okay, and I was appalled at two things. One thing was that Mark had a request from a city council member wanting to come out to the cemetery without our permission and to look at equipment and to make sure the equipment was OSHA compliant. That is entirely wrong. The city council and private individuals have no right to do that. And if anyone were to request that, it would have to come before us, and we would have to give permission for that. Even if in my wildest dreams we would even consider it. So I just want to make that clear, and I want to let you know that that happened. The other thing that I'm equally unhappy about is that an attack was made against Roxanne by a member of the council. And one of the items was a family member had been buried and the monument was put on incorrectly. It was put on backwards or something like that. And they blamed Roxanne, okay? And they blamed Mark, and they blamed the city. Cemetery does not put markers on graves, okay? And if they have a problem, they have to return to the person who they contracted with for that marker. And it has nothing whatsoever to do with this cemetery or the cemetery personnel. There was another issue that the same person brought up, that their loved one was buried in the wrong grave. That's not what happened. Incorrect or misunderstood directions were given to the cemetery, and this all happened during COVID, okay? Incorrect information was given, and so the person was put into the place that was indicated to one of our cemetery employees. We did what we were told. Mark corrected it without disinterring or anything else. But like I say, it was an honest mistake, and that's all. So I thought you all should know about that. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn, or do you want to ask me questions first?
I have a question.
Sure.
The sanitary district is going to request through the board an easement for their for septic installation across the Swan Lake property.
Okay, well, they have to go before the board works.
That's true. That's why I mention it right now. So it will happen, and it'll go on the agenda for next month.
Oh, good. Okay, all right. Well, thanks for the heads up. Appreciate that. Anybody else?
I've got a question. Maybe a year or two ago, it was brought up about the cemetery fence not being correctly powder coated or something. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And I noticed that the posts, all the posts on the fences, they're like peeling off or have faded. The spindles, between the posts look okay, but it's just all the posts and they look gray or silver. Is there anything that we can do to fix those? Because it makes the fence look so old, and it's not an old fence. It's not that old.
I don't know.
Could we look into that maybe and see if something
The
can
only
be
thing that
done?
we could possibly do is paint, just paint.
Okay, and there's a certain
And
kind
we've
of,
got 900 posts there. So that would be quite a job, but no, I agree. When that fence was put in there in 2000, the company that did it, they gave us a 5-year warranty, and I wouldn't accept it. So we went with a 10-year warranty. At about year 6, it started fading. And I talked to the gentleman at a company here in town. They said to check it for powder coating. He gave me a chemical to check it with. Almost 90% of that fence was not powder coated, it was just painted. So everything went down, and they sued. That's when Evans, her name was Evans, the lawyer, city attorney.
Yeah, Jennifer Evans.
Jennifer, right. And they sued, and they said, okay, we'll do so many repairs. They would not do any of the poles at the time. We had probably, out of the 900 plus panels that we had almost 500 panels redone. But even coming back, I don't think they were all powder coated. But getting back to your request, that would be a monumental job. We'd have to, I don't even know how, I mean, other than painting them. Because we can't take them out because they're sunk in the ground about 3 feet.
Yeah.
Okay,
How about like a spray, you know, the spray paint? Not the cans, but you know, you can get the buckets and the airless sprayers or whatever. I mean, those go pretty quick. I mean, could you tackle a little bit at a time, or?
well, I think Mark ought to take a look at that and, you know, price out the materials, okay? Tell us whether or not you would have time, and when you'd have time, because I think it's a valid concern. And you do too, Mark. Okay, so maybe we can work, you know, a little bit at a time and get you maybe section by section, get something done. Think you could do that for us, Mark?
Sure.
Thank you, Mark.
You're so accommodating.
Yes.
I mean, see, what do I care?
Would it be worth
Fence has been a nightmare since they put it up.
Yes, it has been, it's been a horrible fence.
Would it be worth contacting one of the commercial painting companies? Or?
That would be my first bet. If you're gonna do it, I would go, especially with spray painting, we can't do it.
Yeah.
And they would have, I'm sure, the equipment, so there's not so much overspray, because you don't wanna do any overspray.
So that's what you would intend to do.
I would start with that. If nothing else, we'd have to go out and buy 4-inch rollers and just give everybody a little roller and say, you're inside, you're outside, and go.
Every customer
on the days they have nothing.
Yeah.
On the days they have nothing to do.
We'll have a painting party.
Yeah.
Anything else from anybody? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We've been getting really.